Okay, welcome back. For our second video, we want to show what the job would look like for someone who's actually setting up the files. Not just the person entering the data. I hope you saw that was pretty straightforward, fairly easy. But for the person actually setting up the files for the data entry person to use them. Now, this person does need to understand spreadsheets a little bit. So suppose that I have another spreadsheet here that is my player registration. And I have all my different players here, and maybe I have like a special ID for them and a percentage are they going to attend. I do that for judging how many tables do I need, etc. But the real heart of it is over here. What events are they going to go into? So I've got this event and that event, etc. Now what I've done actually is I have their name linked. So let's go back and look at their names again. So I have Ann Archer, Bob Beener, Carol Courtois, etc. But let's suppose that we have two versions of their name. One we want to maybe keep around for the full name for the results section, and one we want to have for the charts. And that can be phonetic. I repeat, that can be phonetic, meaning that if Excel tries to pronounce it and it has difficulty, you could spell it out phonetically here and it might sound better. However, it would look different on the chart. So that's something you kind of have to decide. Now also here you might have a little list. So okay, here's my buddy Bob Beener. Everybody but knows him by Beener. But you say here, okay, well maybe some will find this name offensive. So Bob says, hey, okay, I understand. For today only, I'm going to change my name to Mr. Bean. Okay, thanks a lot, Bob. Carol says, no way, all my friends know me as Hot Lips. I've been that way for years. Okay, that one's okay. So in other words, this is the way it's going to show up. This is the way it's going to publish. So we're going to have it visible here this way. And that's what I've linked this to. And how I did that was I basically clicked in here, typed the equal sign, and then clicked back on Annie over here on the left. Click here, equal sign, back on that. So this is updating automatically. If I want to change the name, I come over here and I change the name over here and here because this is where it's linked. Okay, back to business. So now it's time to call an event. Let's suppose we want to do the event of, let's see, how about semi-pro singles? So we find out that this person wants to play, and this person wants to play, and this person, and this person. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's take two more. One more is good. Okay. So for semi-pro singles, Annie, Mr. Bean, Hot Lips, No, etc. So what I do is I go ahead and I select up to what I need. So up to semi-pro singles, and all the names. And I copy. Now my favorite way of copying is Control C. I know it's going to work because I have this little carousel spinning around. Now the problem is all these names are not really names. They are linked. They're formulas. So I want to get rid of that stuff. So I come here to the blank section and I go, okay, I'm going to come here and I'm going to say not just paste, but paste special. And the paste special I'm looking for is called the value, where it says 1, 2, and 3, and that will literally give me the value. So if I inspect, I'm not seeing a link over to the far left. I'm seeing the actual word, Annie, Mr. Bean, Hot Lips, etc. And I know that because up here in the formula bar, I'm seeing what Excel sees. It's seeing it here by name. Now, just I've remembered that the last column is the one that I needed, which was semi-pro singles. So what I can do here is I can go ahead and I can actually remove. So I'm going to select all those columns. And I do that by clicking the middle of the column header. So I come here and I select up to but not including the last column. I then right click on this and I say, okay, let's go ahead and actually delete that. And now I have my information. Now imagine this wasn't just 6 or 7 people. This was dozens and dozens of people. What I want to do is I want to move every person who's not a 1, who's not going to play in that event. So this time I'm going to go ahead and select all this. And I'm going to use a built-in feature for Excel. It's under the Data menu. Under Data, it's called Filter. Okay, so what filtering is going to let me do now, it's going to let me go ahead and, let me try that one again. There it goes. So what it lets me do, it lets me go ahead now and filter by this number. So if I say I only want to see the ones where the case is 1, in other words, skip all the blanks, that's what it's done. Now, here's why I'm doing it over in a blank section. You may have noticed, but it's kind of messing up over here. I didn't want to mess up my spreadsheet. I didn't want to do it in my regular example about where my regular information was. I just want to mess it up over here in case I happen to temporarily hide rows, which is what Excel just did. See what happened here? That's why I left some extra stuff here so you can see what's happening. I've protected it by moving to a blank area and done it that way. And now what I do is if I select this, now even though there's more rows here being selected, what Excel actually does is leave a gap and jump over the cells that has a 0 in it. And again, I'm going to copy. Now I'm going to go over to where I have to have my Excel spreadsheet. And yes, I have one original for an 18. I'm going to go ahead and open it. And just since it's still in memory, I'm going to go to the first yellow cell here. And I'm not going to do a regular paste. I'm going to do another paste special just to make sure there's nothing hanging on here. All I have is Annie and Hot Lips and Denny, which is just what I need. And I'm going to go ahead here and name this as, it was what, Semi-Pro Singles. And in order to protect my actual spreadsheet so that I can use it again and again and again, I'm going to immediately save it as a new name. So I've saved it in the name. It tells me that up here, up in the title bar. It tells me here under A1, so I now have that information showing up in my announcements, and I'm good to go. And again, I can go ahead and I can either enter the buys over on the left or over on the right. And this information, however, is dynamic. This is using actually quite a few columns. C, D, and E are hidden on purpose. But what it's doing is it's automatically randomizing this list. And if I want to randomize it even more, I have here a number of just over 1 million. If I change that to a different number, it will re-randomize based upon another hidden key. So again, what I'm going to do here is so you don't have the same key. If I had the same list here with the same key again and again and again, this randomization would be only one way. If for every event I put in a different public key, the visible key here, it would give me a different randomization. Now, this is actually going ahead and now doing another formula where not only is it randomizing, but it's basically putting it in here in the way that I want it to be, and it's leaving a gap here. So this is where I'm going to enter my buys. And I don't know if you notice it or not, but it's going to actually overtype a formula. Now that's a little bit dangerous. You see, these are still formulas. If you look up above in the formula bar, but over here, okay, I've gone ahead, I've closed the registration. I could just enter it. I could enter another name. In fact, I'm going to do that. I'm going to put in the name of, let's see, of Quentin. Now, he's going to take the place of that buy, but it's fine because all the cells I've used over here are linked to this position, and it doesn't matter what's a formula or a number now. So I can still go ahead. I can even update this person here. What I don't want to do is update information here because this is sort of hands off. This is where you can enter the information. Safest to do it here. You can also do it here. And now all I ever enter is things here in yellow for the table number and the different person. So if it's a formula, be careful. If it's not a formula, just a piece of text, a little bit safer. So I'm going to go ahead now and say, okay, buy is going to lose. So that means person A1. And that's also complete. And I'm going to say this time person B wins every match. And I do it, that's a buy, okay, that's allowed. And person B, person B, person B. And I'm going to say these are all complete. We saw before how to do the different naming, etc. And person B is 1. Okay, so actually let me back that off. I can go ahead and I can delete these. I can still call these. So this is again entered information. I can change this if I put something in wrong. All the yellows I can change at my free will. The other cells or formulas, be careful how you change those. Probably shouldn't touch them. So what I want to point out now is a couple of extra features. The first feature is I can announce more than just the match. So if I have announcements here like welcome to the open doubles competition, I'm going to go ahead and speak that one now.
Welcome to the open doubles competition. The format will be the best 3 out of 5 games on the winner's side and the best 2 out of 3 games on the loser's side. Games are race to 5 and last game is win by 2 up to a maximum of 8. If your opponent does not show up after 2 minutes, please let us know at the scorer's desk. After your match, please come to the scorer's desk to report the results. Please.
The feedback that I've gotten from my friends is they don't mind the names of the matches being called from the automaton robot, but they kind of said, okay, look, the tournament director probably wants to announce that instead, and since they only have to announce this once, that's fine. I do want to show you a recall though. So here's a recall. So the recalls are not, repeat, they're not automated. I have to type the name of the person I want to recall, and I'm going to do it twice. So in case it's too fast the first time, he hears it the second time. So I'm going to go ahead now and recall Sean Lee. Here we go.
Sean Lee. Sean Lee. This is your first recall. Please report to the scorer's desk. Sean Lee. Sean Lee. This is your second recall. Please report to the scorer's desk or you will be forfeited in 2 minutes. Sean Lee. Sean Lee. You have just been forfeited.
So depending upon what stage the recall is at, I would read out that different piece of information. And if you have a lot of recalls, then you might want to use the feature. But again, something like that, you might want to just use the public announce system and use it that way. Now, what is not, repeat, not available in this version is automatic texting or WhatsApp notices for recalls. We anticipate doing that over the next few months in the next version, but we are not, repeat, not expecting to have that ready for the immediate time being. So the recalls are just going to be done orally. They're going to be done either by you calling it out, or if you want to, the system calling it out. Now, what I want to do now, however, is talk about, so suppose I have another event happening as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start that. So that was pro singles. So I'm going to do maybe an amateur singles as well. Now, I'm going to do an 8 team, and I'm going to save it as amateur singles. I'm going to give it the title name here of amateur singles. And I'll give them very bad names. Oops. Okay. If I want to re-randomize it a little bit better, I change a number in my public key, and it's very random now. And I go ahead and call some of those matches. Now, what I might want to do here is I might want to reduce the size of this information. I still want to see it so I can click on it and go to it. But Excel can see it. I don't need to see all of it. And then this information here, kind of useful to look at just to make sure you entered it correctly, is taking up a lot of screen space. So I'm going to take that and hide that. I'm not going to delete it. I'm not going to delete it. I'm going to hide that column. So it's still there, it's still being used. Now, what that allows me to do now, that allows me to go ahead and actually have more than one of these screens visible. So let me do it on the other one as well. So view, and I'll switch windows, and I'll switch over here. In fact, I'm going to go to the player registration, and I'm going to close that down and not bother saving it. I just want to have 2 of these. So window, switch window. I've got 2 visible, semi-pro singles, which is there. I'm going to go ahead here and reduce the size of this and hide R, S, T, and U. And again, do not delete them, just hide them. And now what I'm going to do is, under my view, is I have a choice here called view them side by side, and there they are. So what does this allow me to do? Too far. This allows me to work on more than one event at the same time. Now let's suppose that I want to use the first 4 tables for this event. I would put here a letter N, which is just a visual cue that I'm not supposed to use them here. But I am, yes, 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 supposed to use these. So again, here, yes, I can use these. Now, not very dramatic, not very useful. It's just there as a visual clue. Yes, I can use these on this event, but over here I want to use these events, these things. So let me go ahead here and remove some of this, call a few. Okay, so I'm allowed to use 5, 6, 7, and 8. So 5, 6, 7, 8. And don't worry if they're not allowed to be called yet. What I want to simply point out here is I'm using my table numbers over here and my table numbers over here. And all I want to make sure of, I don't call 2 different matches in the same table number. I'm looking at it here visually. I can go back and forth and I can enter results. So person A1, okay, and these matches are complete. I can call more matches, etc., going back and forth. And because I have here, get it right, because I have here my new toolbar, the one that calls the matches, over in the left, a new toolbar, and it's over in the left. It hasn't cut it off. They're now visible, that I can come here and I can call matches here.
Amateur singles GGGG versus CCCCC repeat GG.
And I can also call matches over here.
Semi-pro singles Gregor versus Spy repeat Gregor versus Spy on table C.
And how it kept them tracked which one is which was because my cell A1 in each of these had a different event name, and it had that here in the announcement as well. And that's it for now.